Hey everybody, welcome to another installment of Paradyme Podcast. In this episode, we discuss rule number 6 from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. We highly recommend you pick it up. Think you'd really like it. A lot of good information in here. This chapter is titled, Set Your House in Perfect Order Before You Criticize Others. We here at Paradyme hope you enjoy the episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like below, drop us a comment. We love the feedback, and follow us on all our social media platforms. They will all be in the description below. Once again, thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
For a new set of rules.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
So we could jump into it if you guys want.
Nice.
All right, so chapter 6, rule number 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
Look at the photo.
What did you guys think about this chapter? You know, it was short, but like, you know.
What main thing I took away was it's not really like in a literal sense setting your house in order, but it's almost like your mindset, like your mentality. Like you have to kind of approach the world and be aware that like suffering, once you step out that door to the real world, your problems almost don't exist, and you have to be able to cope and adapt to other people and circumstances and challenges that you're going to face, because you can start to think in this godlike manner where you think you can control stuff and things fall in your hands. Because if it's hard and everybody's a piece of shit, like no one treats me well, like this, it's kind of like off topic, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand, like, the way people treat you is this sort of energy you give off. Even if it's like just being super quiet,
I always think that's
a quiet person comes off as hostile naturally. You know what I mean? So when people don't speak, you're almost like, just because you're not like intentionally pushing people away, you don't have to intentionally. You're not talking to anybody. You're not trying to initiate conversation or just trying to open up like to the world.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're giving that energy. So when it's given back, you're accepting it because you're not looking to open up.
Very
True.
I thought there's a Bible verse that literally like encapsulates this whole chapter, which is before pointing out the speck in another person's eye, remove the plank from your own. And so that literally like encapsulates what this whole chapter was. It's like, before you go around telling people they need to change, make the change that you know you need to make in your own life first. Like that should be a priority. And that was the major idea I got from this chapter. It was like, it makes a ton of sense in terms of like, it's like a sick doctor. You know what I mean? The doctor has to cure himself before he can cure other people.
Sure.
You know?
That's interesting. When I read that, I think I did take it more like in a literal, just like off the rip of the title. And it made me think of my house and my situation with my mom and dad right now. And it really made me think of my mom. Like, she loves to like criticize everything, like the world per se. Like, that's evil. I have power discernment. She's very judgmental and like critiques the world, you know what I mean? She critiqued me for like my nose piercing. She was super upset, like went off on me. She was like, "You look terrible. That's awful. Why would you do that to your body?" Like, just going crazy, right? And I was like, "Mom, I take really good care of my body." Like, I was like, what did you eat today? Like, you know, just like kind of like asking her question, not to put on the spot, but like, I'm just like, I take care of my body. Like, you know,
get trampled on.
Yeah. And she likes to critique the world, right? And how people live and whatever. And I'm like, "Mom, look at the kitchen. You have a giant mess here, just sitting here. You have an office. Like, what do you know?" And it's crazy that it comes to that point, but that title made me think of my, my situation at home and how we need more order in our house before we even have the capacity to like criticize like other people and whatnot, like in that sense too. But again, like I like what you said, it's more like a mindset, like set your mindset in order first before you go do that.
Right.
For me, this chapter made me think about like, everyone always thinks their problems are like ginormous and that their pain and suffering is more than everyone else's, and they feel like, you talk about almost entitled, but then they gotta remember literally every single other person is dealing with the same shit you are, and you literally just have to go outside and like put that shit in like not a box, but you just gotta put it in order and keep going, dude. You know, because he talks about later in the book about people, their end conclusion is we should kill all mankind because we're all evil and we're all in pain and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, so we've all agreed that we all feel this way, you know? Yeah. So that doesn't make you special that you feel that way.
It's like the answer.
It makes you special if you feel good. You know, that's what you should be shooting for. Like, bring order to that.
True.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was a good point.
The part where he brings up Columbine, I actually had to read that in college, like the book. And like everything he said was on point, dude. Like those guys, literally, it wasn't just because of bullying, like they try to chop it up to. There was a sickness or like a mindset in there, you know, of like, okay, if humans are capable of this, then they don't deserve to live, including myself.
Yeah, it's like they have the capability to cleanse the world.
Right.
Would you call that nihilism or whatever, or like
I would say it's like a blend, nihilism and like narcissism and like
you get to make those decisions for somebody else.
Right, God complex.
I heard I don't know what I was watching, but they're like they said something and the person responding is like, "Isn't that what God say?"
Oh,
yeah.
That's crazy. I've never heard anybody say that before. Like, and it's almost like if you say that to somebody, it's almost like you can check every aspect of nihilism within that one. Like, not just nihilism, but like the whole cleanse and like how like use your mom's example, how she knows right and she is right. She's in the light of God. Like she's the passage through
people like
whatever.
Push me away from God.
And it makes me question like, isn't that what like God say? Like, isn't that what Hitler tried to do? Isn't that what Stalin tried to do? And they tried to conform and cleanse the world. Like
he talks about like the Nazi party and all that stuff right here. Like it's like the answer is just to kill everybody, or like you know,
unpure.
Yeah,
in their eyes.
Fucking wow. That's crazy. You know what's crazy is this shit actually happened. Like that blows my mind. That like
I can't even.
And it's all if you think about it, it's like action and like, you know, money and stuff, but it's also like people, like regular ass people with like a mindset like pave the way for like things like that to happen, like horrible things.
Religion can be really good, you know what I mean? It provides values and a foundation for a lot of people, like for your mom, in terms of like acting and character. There might be some things that might be off-putting, but that could be because of like what my mom said, like if this person is who you see as Christianity and they act a certain way, it's going to push you away from that spiritual path. So like, I just wanted to bring that up because it's like, if that's something that's in your mind, like don't let one person push you away from like a life of value or whatever. If that's what you want, then that's what you want. Don't let one person kind of steer you away from what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know?
It sounds like you have a good relationship with God, like in your own terms. Right. The more God to know you and talk about you. So I'm gonna talk with you. So
definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I recognized that a while ago, like that my mom, like, you know, I'll never fully understand her, but I try my best to. And I know that just because it's ironic because a lot of Christians that I talk to about like what I go through with my mom, they're like, that's not
right.
Yeah. They kind of like rebuke that energy.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's crazy.
Definitely.
There's a weird, not weird, but a conversation that I heard on a podcast, and they were talking about children in like churches and how a lot of kids, like just a vast majority of kids, let's say Christianity, go to church at a really young age. And it's almost like an intimidation or like a scare. It's like you have to be committed to something at such a young age and something that you don't understand.
That's
and
how I felt, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you're pushed into something that's like, okay, I can't comprehend this.
Yeah. How could you?
And it's fear. And I think that's what kind of drew me away from religion, was like seeing people go up on stage and being like touched by someone and like them like reacting in a way like something's leaving their body. I didn't understand
To
that.
me,
as a
that's all
kid.
theatrics. That's not real. That's not real church.
That's all
shit.
crap.
I didn't understand that as a kid, and then also like how people see the world in that sense. Like not just your mom, but there's a lot of people that see that. Like they think that they can talk to this God or talk to, and they're the light. And I think that's what pushed me away from religion. It was like if I'm like this, you must have a superpower, because I don't hear, the only voice I hear in my head is the voice that I create.
Right.
And if I'm speaking to something, that means they're just listening. So how is it to say that someone like, I'm not saying like the stories where people like see God or like talk to some like they hear this voice and they may think it's God. It's more of just like, you can't control what other people's decisions. You can't control the outcome of other people's decisions. You can. It's always like a choice. You get to decide like whether you want to be a good light or a bad light.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. So like even like the whole Pope thing like throws me off. Like the Pope in Rome.
I'm not a big fan of the Catholic Church. Any of this crazy religious stuff, like the Catholics actually rewrote the 10 Commandments, because one of the commandments is like, thou shalt not like worship made idols or whatever. And it's like literally, it's like,
The whole structure.
And then the Catholic Church is like, well, we got the Saint Mary, we pray to this, we pray to this thingy, because they sell it. It's like, they're like a Ponzi scheme, bro,
Yeah.
But it's funny, growing up too, I've seen that people that have like really overly religious parents and who were like really like bred into it, they almost slightly resent the whole church culture after the fact of life. And me, who found like God by myself, we would go to church as a family sometimes, but like they're never like, this is the way. They're like, This is what a good family does.
That's how I feel like I found God like within myself too. Like I never understood. Like I remember me and David used to have conversations with my ex. Like I used to be like, why do you guys believe in God?
And
what is like God? Like what is this thing that people like? And I just ask questions, and because I was uneducated, I didn't know that like there is good faith in everything. You just have to allow that source, that higher power to just have control and not control.
Yeah.
And back to this whole bringing order to your house, this whole God structure with these people in the church, like sounds like your mom's something like that. My ex's dad was always thinking like, he literally was like, I'm a prophet. I can like hear God's word and stuff. And he would always tell me all the things I was doing wrong, all the things doing right. He's sick, dude. Like he's like not healthy at all. Eats crap. My ex is like that. He just all around not healthy. I was like, I eat only good vegetables, all fresh produce. I work out every day. Like I bring order into my life. I was like, how could you possibly look at you and look at me and be like, you're living life wrong? I was like, bro, it looks like you're living life wrong.
That's exactly how I try and, conversate with my mom, but not do it as blunt as that. You know what I mean?
Of course, I could never say that. But in my internal head, I'm like.
Sometimes it comes out though like that. You know what I mean?
And then it turns into an argument.
Yeah, it turns into an argument, and they're very defensive as to why. Like, and then it comes in like. It's like a kind of like that feedback loop that we were talking about. It's in.
And then they act like everyone's fucking against them. They're like, the devil's with you guys. I'm a prophet. I was like, bro, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And you can see that in all aspects of life too.
Yeah.
It's I think that's the world we live in now. Actually, the majority of people think like that.
And there's a, I'm not saying, I think my mom's case, there's a lot of people like her that are, like they do these same things or whatever. But what I'm noticing too is like in her that she'll say that because she has that complex of prophet, like she thinks my dad told me like she has like prophetic powers or whatever. And it's like she can live, eat like crap, I mean, she's older, so I know she's like not as energetic, but she's still like, you have a decision to keep your house clean, to like be a good wife, to be a good mother, all these things. And it's like,
it's never too late.
God's path tells me I can just sit around all day because I was meant to. Or God, it's like taking like less responsibility and putting it on the spiritual journey or that whatever, and then you're just like kind of like letting your life like
right.
It's a really there's no accountability. No, like I can't hold my mom responsible because her excuse is God. God tells me that I'm You know, and I'm like, I can't break that because she literally believes that with her whole life.
Tying that back to the book and like things fall apart. It literally says willful blindness and corruption took the city down. Just like,
dude, yeah. I love that. I think I highlighted that. I took a picture of it in my phone because it was like such a good quote.
It's like, you know, if you're willfully being blind, then it doesn't, like, of course things aren't going to work out. You know, you did that to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things fall apart.
Willful blindness and corruption took the city down.
7?
Yeah.
A hurricane is an act of God, but failure to prepare when the necessity for preparation is well known, that's sin. I fuck with that quote a lot.
That's what he referred to, the tsunamis in Louisiana.
Yeah. The tie back into that for like to clean up your life, you know? He's like, start small. The answer is no. Here's something to try. Start to stop doing what you're doing wrong. Start stopping today. At the very least.
Right.
Start stopping today. You know? Whether like bad habits or whatever, trying to make good habits.
Yeah.
I think it all ties in
his videos, he talks about that. He's like, you know what you need to fix. Like, you could sit on the edge of your bed, even if it's starting with cleaning your room. You sit on the edge of your bed and you look at something and something bothers you. Clean it up. Yeah. And it's like the same thing in your mind. You're kind of sitting in that space. You know there's something that needs to be fixed, and you know it takes a lot of responsibility, character, and strength to actually address them and correct them. You know, so yeah, I would.
That's what. Do you guys know who David Goggins is? I really like him because everyone thinks he's like a fucking superhero because he runs these like ultra marathons and shit. And he was like, y'all think this shit easy? He was like, what y'all don't see is that David Goggins who fucking stares at his shoes for 20 minutes, thinking like, I can't believe I'm about to go run right now. He's like, you don't see me fucking taking 30 minutes to put on one shoe, but 30 minutes left to put on another shoe. He goes, but I know I want to get it done. I know I have.
100% believe that because like I know I'm not in no position of like where David Goggins is at. Of course. Like me and my mom having a conversation and we started talking about the gym and I said, well, one thing is you'll never feel like going to the gym. I like every time I
disagree. I get it I'm like, sometimes I'm like lagging, you know, I'm like, but I'm like, I'm always pretty happy to go, dude.
Yeah. Most of the times when I'm about to go to the gym, I'm like, I don't really want to. I'd rather like sit and study and like relax or play, but do something. But it's like my mind's talking to me, but I'm getting ready. I'm putting my clothes on. I'm putting my shoes on. Because it's like the more I sit and think, then it's like one, I'm wasting time, and then why not just go for? If I go for 30 minutes. Don't go for a full hour. Like you know what I mean. You can cut it short. You don't have to. This thing in your head that's like, oh, I don't want to go. You can cut it short. It doesn't have to be a full.
Yeah, I was talking to this guy at the park. He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about going. I used to go. He's like, we kind of just fell off. And I was like, just going is the hardest part, man. Once you're in there, you're gonna something's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah.
You're either gonna push harder, or you're just gonna want
to. And a lot of the time, you're like, yeah, I'll just do these 30 minutes, and it turns into like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
you're like, oh, you know what? This is actually something good. I wanted to keep doing this.
I look forward. That shit's like my zen, bro. If I didn't go to the gym, I would be an asshole. Like it fucking like zens me out. I get to go burn off all this extra energy I have. I look forward to going and talking to you. I look forward to seeing Spaceballs at Astro Girl. Like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I used to feel like that too. I'm like, fuck, I can't. Like, I'm gonna go to the gym now. But I think something switched in my brain to where like, I feel good, I look good. I like feeling like relieving stress. Like it just does so much for me now. So I'm like, I literally like Monday through Friday. I'm like, I fucking can't wait to just like
do this,
fuck some weight up because I need to, like, there's like it's a release for me to like just like
it's like my medicine, dude. You know, it's like
and I know it is like really good for like, you know, being health wise. Like, have you guys been looking into holistic like health or like holistic like shit like that? Yeah. I follow this guy on TikTok, dude.
What's from that back? What'd you just say?
What?
Follow this guy on TikTok. I get all my stock advice from him and health advice.
Yeah, dude, he's super smart. No, but some of the stuff he talks about, I'm like, that's because he's very mindset based. Like,
true.
Like, and all, you know, it's literally as a man thinketh in the form of like a guy just talking about it.
True.
You know, as a man thinketh. I really believe that shit, dude.
That book slap.
Really good book.
You guys want to move on? Are we moving on with the topics?
Yeah, I think Jay had something more to talk about.
It's kind of on that same point.
What you got going on here, buddy? What are we doing?
Page 155, the first paragraph. It says, these are kind of questions that you would ask yourself if you're in that situation. Like, have I personally contributed to this catastrophe in my life?
I like that.
How have I missed the mark in the past? How many times had he acted against how many times have I acted against my own conscience, engaging in actions that he knew to be wrong? How many times had I betrayed myself and lied? Was there any way that the sins of the past could be rectified or atoned for?
Yeah.
Can I stop making mistakes now, and can I repair the damage done in my past failures now?
Yeah.
And so I think those are questions that would be worth asking in a situation like that. Like, even on not such a gloomy topic as like suicide, like just development of character, those are questions to start with, to set your own house in order, you know?
Totally.
I think I highlighted those because it's like, those are things I kind of want to ask myself, even when I'm feeling down a little bit, or when I want to make an improvement.
Yeah.
That's good.
Gotta be real with yourself.
Right.
I have one on 154. Talking about the girl talking to a psychiatrist. She says she hopes that all her suffering is her own fault.
I like that.
If it's her fault, she might be able to do something about it. If it's God's fault, however, if reality itself is flawed, hell-bent, or ensuring her misery, then she is doomed. She couldn't change the structure of reality itself, but maybe she could change her own life. And I think that takes to me, that's so deep within a self-conscious thing that it's not easy to identify. Oh, well, if God is, and I'm giving all my power to God, some people don't even recognize you have the power within yourself to change and not give all of that power. Like, you could just be like, I'm not giving it to the source, because I understand that, like, if I can change my life, why wouldn't I?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I don't know, it's accountability.
I think you're just breathing into the mic.
It's like accountability. It's like, if everybody would just be accountable for their own weight and everybody else around them's happiness, and when you're going through things, you're able to bring it up to other people, I think the world would be a lot better off. Like, you can communicate and you're open to truth, instead of like, oh, I'm fine, but you're not okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you need to talk to somebody, but just be honest.
No shame in that either. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's smart as shit. Like,
yeah,
because I think he like makes like topics like these like more digestible and easier to like understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He covered the Columbine thing like very briefly, but like it's just like he gets the gist of like why too. I mean, it's crazy.
On page 156, the bottom of it, it says, but success makes us complacent. We forget to pay attention. We take what we have for granted. We turn a blind eye. We fail to notice that things are changing, or that corruption is taking root and everything falls apart. Is that the fault of reality of God? Or do things fall apart because we have not paid enough attention or sufficient attention?
I definitely think the later, for sure, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I even see that in people in my own life, and it's like kind of culminating now. Things are kind of a little hectic at the Reyes household. But like, that's literally what it was at my household. Like, my dad's working a nice job right now, and everybody kind of just became complacent. And so things kind of started developing beneath the surface. And so as they developed, like, slight signs here and there of noticing that we could notice, but it all kind of is coming to now, like with the whole situation. But like, now there's something going on with my sister too that was brought to my attention last night at the party. I got a call. I won't share it on here, but it's just a whole nother thing that I'm gonna have to talk to her about, because like, I don't know, she don't really want to talk to my pops about it or anything like that, or even my mom at this moment. But yeah, like, things were brewing underneath the surface because people became complacent.
Sure.
And so a blind eye was turned, and I failed, and my family failed to notice that things were changing and corruption was taking root. And so I don't think it's because of, I mean, there's an aspect that God plays, like, you know, he throws curveballs and stuff to develop character. But I think it really was like a large part if not 90% of it, things falling apart because we have not paid sufficient attention. And so like there was signs that led up to this that were kind of disregarded.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, even like on a whole nother thing, it's like when I see kind of how my dad, he got successful and became complacent. Like it wasn't like a purpose driven thing anymore besides provider protector. And so I'm kind of learning from that and kind of jotting that down. And my own thing is like, when you become successful, don't become complacent.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really big because like you said, like corruption's going to take root. There's no, like even the Garden of Eden had some sort of chaos in it. The snake was in there at some point. So you can establish a Garden of Eden figuratively in your life, but understand that there's going to be some serpents in there. And if you don't address them soon, they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think both the former and the latter, like, I think they both are true to themselves. Like, the question, is it fault with the reality of God, or do things fall apart because we don't pay attention? I think it's not, in a sense, both of the questions are correct, but I think in a sense, the reality of God, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
He didn't, if he wanted to put everything in perfect order and perfect structure and everything good, like a utopian world, a euphoric world, then it would be like that. But it's not like that. So it's like this for a reason. Everything is for a reason, if it's bad or good.
Right.
But also we have to take accountability and the choices we make and the decisions we decide to act upon. We have to understand, like, are we going to fully commit our attention and really try to identify if there's issues going on with people? Because that takes like consciousness and awareness around to know yourself, to even help somebody else, like to even pick up on signs. Like maybe you didn't go through it, but maybe you did readings, but now you're like, when you hear signs or see signs if someone's acting a certain way,
Right.
you're able to pick up on it a little bit faster.
Okay.
Definitely. So that was page 156.
Yeah, and then 159 is the last page. Yeah, this is a really short chat. Rule 7's,
Yeah.
I think, back to normal, or a little bit longer, actually.
Hey, you want to wrap it up and do the end of the book questions? We got like 13 minutes. Unless you got someone else you want to say too.
I got one more thing too, in Clean Up Your Life, the first paragraph.
Okay.
So it says, consider your circumstances, start small. Have you taken full advantage of the opportunities offered to you? Are you working hard on your career or even your job, or are you letting bitterness and resentment hold you back and drag you down?
Yeah.
Have you made peace with your brother? Are you treating your spouse and your children with dignity and respect? Do you have habits that are destroying your health and well-being? Are you truly shouldering your responsibilities? Have you said what you need to say to your friends and family members? Are the things that you could do, that you know you could do, that would make things around you better? Have you cleaned up your life? And so that's kind of just along those things with like the questions again. And I think this chapter's loaded with a lot of information, or even like self-reflection questions that like will open a lot of windows in the brain in terms of like, how can I correct and like better myself, but not just my situation, like the situation of people around me, you know?
You know how I kind of view this book too? I know real quick, we're kind of almost up on time.
That's cool. I want to talk.
So 7 Habits, you know, like we read that book. This is our 3rd book, right?
It's our
So
3rd
7
book.
Habits was like very optimistic.
The perfect book for us to start with.
Yeah, but very successful, you know, because that's what we wanted. Very optimistic, and I would say more optimistic than talking about, you know, some things. Nice Bike was very, very positive, you know.
Yep.
Maybe a little touch here of like some sad stuff. This, I feel like this book touches on like the good, but it also acknowledges like the potential for like chaos and evil within people. And it's like, you know, it's like a good reality check, you know, as far as like certain things are.
This is almost like an acknowledgement of like, hey, life sucks.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because you can make it better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I feel like this is maybe this book feels a little more like, it's you gotta think a lot about the stuff he's talking about, you know. And he's pulling a lot of sources too. But I just wanted to point that fact out. It's like, it's a good.
I would agree with you. I think 7 Habits was like a book of different tools to like have a better life.
Right.
And this is like 12 things that you need to acknowledge if you want to have a better life. And one of the things is like, hey, sometimes life is it puts you really deep down. But like to be strong, you gotta flip the switch and be like, if this is the lowest I can go, I can only go up. I might go lower. Yeah. Sometimes you buy the dip and it keeps dipping.
Yeah, they're very complimentary, huh? I would say so.
I do have one more highlight. Towards the end of the chapter 158, says, inopportune questioning can confuse without enlightening, as well as deflecting from your actions. From your action, you can know that something is wrong or right without knowing why. Your entire being can tell you something that you can neither explain nor articulate. Every person is too complex to know themselves completely. We all contain wisdom that we cannot comprehend. And I think that the context of this that last statement, and we all contain wisdom that we cannot comprehend, reflects on this whole book. I've heard multiple, I have right here noted, like this is the second mention that like is identical to where he mentioned before, where we're too complex to even understand ourselves.
Yeah, he mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, and trying to comprehend yourself and deal with the world is almost like you're trying, especially if you're trying to be correct in every form, like this is right, this is right, this is right. Oh, if I did this wrong, then I can't move forward until I get this right, and it has to be completely right. And until I comprehend it, the way I think, everything has to be like perfect, like a perfectionist ideology. And you notice people that are perfectionists never achieve much because they're trying to perfect something so well that they forget that everything else is falling out from underneath them. But at the same time, there are people that develop, they're perfectionists on everything. Like they can really move really fast, get things to succeed really fast, and move on to the next thing really quick. And I think some people, to me, those are like geniuses, and whatever form of genius you want to think about. But to comprehend the bad and good in nature in itself is very hard to do, because your consciousness has to be very like aware of the bad and the good. And at least from what's helped me, it's being grateful, being able to sit in silence, and be patient and living in the moment. I think those three things by far is like shown me that like faith will like get you there, you know, however you see faith. And also remember that like the future isn't real, the past is dead. This is all we have right now. Like in front of us, this is what's real right now. You can't change the future. You can work towards it and you can move towards in that direction, but we can't just snap our fingers and be like, I'm a millionaire.
Right.
Bars.
Process.
This motherfucker's spitting, yo.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
we're about 7 minutes left.
Okay, just one thing on what you said. I like what you said in terms of like some people are so focused on being correct. I kind of wrote down here, the goal isn't always to be correct. The real goal is always to be better.
Yeah.
And I think like that goes hand in hand with what you said. Because like you said, if somebody's worried about being a perfectionist in one subject, if there's 4 dimensions of life and they're just focusing on physical, they're dropping in emotional, / social, spiritual, and mental. Yeah. So it's like almost being a master of none in the sense of like we're just trying to develop and become better men and character.
Well, yeah, I'm happy you said that, because like the perfectionist thing, I feel like me personally, I'm like more loosey-goosey. I'm definitely not a perfectionist. You guys see that. But like I've always been like, I'm always all right at everything. I feel like once I go, I get the basics. I go, oh, I can run with you guys. Like with Jamie with the bikes, I can't ride. Like I can ride enough where I can rip a trail and do something. Yeah. I've never been great at anything, but I'm always like, I can do that.
See, I think the society that we live in pushes like master one thing and become the master of that, and then move on. It's like
find your niche.
How do you you know you'll be happy forever doing that one thing?
Right.
And
you won't.
And even with welding, there's like one thing, right? But there's like 7 different processes, and we'd have some guys that they're like, I only want to do this one thing. But like in our shop, only me and 2 other guys could do everything. And like they would just, that's the only reason like I was able to work there. I'd be like, okay, John, can you just go handle it? And they're not the best at it, but you can at least do it. I'm like, send it. You know, I can send it. I'll handle it.
So we can end it off this, or if anybody has it, but it's going back to the consciousness, like understanding like we can't master everything and be perfectionists at the same time, and having that ability to like be good at everything. I would say good, not not mediocre, because once you understand something, you're almost good at it.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
But I always think about the other side, like Robert Kiyosaki says, your purpose and your passions are two different playgrounds. Your passion
True.
is something that gives you happiness and fulfillment. Your purpose can be living, surviving, providing, being guidance to people, even if it's like you have to be a teacher for 10 years. But that's not what you're passionate about. You're passionate about painting and you want to be a sculptor, but that doesn't get the bills paid.
Right.
Like, let's live in reality. If you want to be
True.
a homeless person, you can be a homeless person, but do you have kids? Do you have animals that you take care of? Do you have family members that are sick? Like,
Right.
we always have to remember we have to live in reality. Your passion might not get the bills paid, but you can continue to work on it.
Bars.
Continue to keep going.
Definitely. Thanks for listening to Paradyme Podcast. That was chapter 6 of Dr. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Set your own home in order before you criticize the world. Thank you for listening.